How differently did society/family treat you after going enhanced?
Oh, that was a terrible conversation. But my dad was like disappointed. He was like, "You fucking idiot. What are you doing?" I'm like, "Dad, I want to get jacked." And then my mom finds a box from GPZ that had syringes in it. GPZ? Opens it. My mom's like, "What are these for?" I'm like, "Mom, what do you think they're for?" She's like, "Well, I don't know. They're IV drugs." I'm like, "Mom, they're not IV drugs. Like they're vitamins, Mom, vitamins." She's like, "No, they're not. Are they for steroids?" I go, "Yeah, Mom, they are." "Well, what kind?" And I was like, "Mom, if I said Narandrol and Decanate or Equipoise, would that ring a bell?" "Probably not." "Why are we having this conversation?" And then she's like, "Are you going to get in trouble?" I'm like, "I fucking hope not. I hope I'm not going to get in trouble." And then after that, we never really had a conversation again. If I had a weird package, my mom's like, "Oh, that funny stuff's in that package over there."
Hey guys, welcome back to the Unrack Podcast with myself, Kyle, and Chris. Today we're going to do a Q&A, and we have a few physique critiques for you guys at the end. Guys, how we doing this lovely Monday? We're in the middle of May. What is going on in your neck of the woods? Surviving?
Surviving.
Tell us about it.
I just don't sleep very much. I just keep operating. I choose my food on a daily basis based on my cognitive ability. I'm going to keep it lower carb because I got to focus. I'm not having alcohol beverage tonight because I need to focus tomorrow morning. I'm not going to watch a stressful movie before bed because I like to wind down at the end of the night and like watch 30 minutes of TV with my wife.
Yeah.
I can't watch something fucking that's like going to rev me up. I'm sitting there like, whoa, oh, whoa. Like then I'm going to try to sit in bed and fall asleep and I can't. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you, so do you do like an alcoholic drink every night, like a beer or wine or something?
No, dude. I haven't drinking alcohol in actually quite some time. It's been a long while now.
Gotcha.
But I got offered some. So I was just like, can't. Sorry, dude.
Yeah. What about you, Kyle?
They look at me like I'm retarded.
Going well, man. Just had a client leave. He was here for 2 weeks and got some good training in. I'm pretty beat up, unfortunately. But other than that, kind of what Chris said, essentially. I'm used to not really sleeping much, but it's tough when you start training again. You're trying to you need to sleep, right? So I feel extra sore all the time and everything just hurts. So it's like, to be young again, to be young again.
Absolutely.
Or even worse is like when you haven't slept is when you go to the gym and you're like, I feel pretty good today. I feel pretty good. I'm going to train. And you start training, you're like, oh, everything feels so heavy.
Uh-huh.
You're like, oh my God. And you try to exert yourself, and instead of exerting yourself, it feels good. It feels worse. And your body's like, bro, what are you doing? You've had like 4 hours of sleep the last 3 nights in a row.
And sometimes I'll look at the weight and I'm like, oh, it can't be what I think it is. And I look, I'm like, oh shit, like I am that weak.
Yeah.
Like fuck, like damn, let me do that again. Let me feel it one more time.
Unfortunately, when you're on this side of the screen, there's a lot of do as I say, not as I do when it comes to practicing bodybuilding habits and trying to keep up a physique while managing a coaching business. But all right, let's dive in. This one is from the real Dr. Kiko, doctor I've referenced in the past for the work he does with athletes and mindset coaching. But his question was, what could competitive bodybuilders learn from other sports? Like money constraints aside. I don't really know what that means about the money constraints, but what do you guys think? I think this would be a good topic to spend a couple minutes on. And I know, Chris, you've always got ideas. Kyle, you're always talking about the mental aspect of the sport. I was interested to hear what you guys had to say about, what our athletes or maybe our sport as a whole could take from other maybe team sports or other individual sports. So, shoot.
Kyle, go for it, buddy.
All right, I'll start with one or two things, and I don't want to take away from other people's. I guess the first thing that comes to mind is, in bodybuilding, we have this mantra, get huge as fast as possible, right? And in other sports, I think the reality is as much as people want to become elite, they think of how can we maximize performance and longevity for as long as I can, right? Especially those, we don't see many LeBrons. We use him as an example because he's been dominating at an elite level for such a long period of time that's unheard of to never have any surgeries, right? But many professional athletes, as good as they may be, they come and go really fast. So I think one thing bodybuilders can leverage is like, okay, how do I make my career last a little longer? Especially when we see some young guys and we're like, hey, if you do this the right way, you're going to be placing top 5 for a very long time. And unfortunately, I don't think we see that so often. At least I see guys come and go sometimes. I'm like, damn, this guy's getting hurt. This guy's burnt out, stuff like that. The other thing I think I would mention is in other sports, you cannot stay in peak output year round. So I think from a periodization standpoint, deloading, things like that is very unheard of sometimes in the bodybuilding. We speak more on it now. You hear a lot of guys like a Jared Feather kind of mention it, but prior to him, we're meatheads, right? We're just like all out in the gym, lift as heavy as possible, take as much shit. And it's like, you're going to burn out. You can't continue to do that. And the ones that can get away with it, inevitably, at some point, they're going to run into issues. And God forbid they don't. I think they could probably have been much better if they actually pause things sometimes. But as I like to say, I think your body will deload for you if you don't. But I think those two things stick in my head because I see it very often across as we're getting into the competitive season. People do shows and they want to do another show and another show. It's just like, hey, man, let's give our body a little break. Let's go back to the drawing board because the reality is you're so young. You could do so much better. Don't burn yourself out chasing something, you know? So I'll stop there. Chris?
But actually, I didn't even think of that, Kyle. And like, I just want to expand upon that one more time. Is you're right. Bodybuilding. It's, you know, how many clients are you telling like they have to do a TRT phase or come off gear, and they're like, oh, bro, like I'm gonna make no progress for 5 weeks, dude. You can't stay in a constant state of progress as much as you think you can. You might be able to go through the motions, but your body's not going to do that. So every phase is an important part of the phase of the grand scheme and your goal. There's phases to that goal just because it's kind of like you're starting a business. Well, you might be starting it and not making money until 3 years from now, but it doesn't mean like, oh, I'm not making money. Well, you will be, but this is the work you have to put in to get there. And it's like, I have clients that tell me that, like, drives me nuts. He's like, oh, coach, I'm really not motivated for this deload week, or I'm not motivated during this phase post show. Bro, you should be motivated on every phase because you're not fully understanding and grasping what each phase means to the next phase. Because if you play this phase right, the next phase goes better. And one of the analogies I made to my client the other day is like, the fastest person around a racetrack is not the person who holds it wide open. It's the person who knows how to take corners and ease the throttle and gun the throttle. There's a time to hit the accelerator and there's a time to back off. That guy is going to win the race. The jabroni who's fucking pinning it in every straightaway and slamming on the brakes and slamming, he can't carry any momentum. That's you. I mean, that's fucking you. And he's like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. But like, dude, that's how it works, dude. You know what I mean? Like, and also think about it in an athlete standpoint, like us as a bodybuilder, you are a high performance machine. And as you know, in any motor sport or any high displacement engine, there's a lot of fucking maintenance that happens with a high displacement engine. If you want to have a Honda Civic and ride it every day and beat the fuck out of it, sure, it's not going to be fine. But it's a low displacement engine. So as a bodybuilder, they get frustrated from injury. They get frustrated. They have to do all this extra mobility work. Bro, your high performance, you have to treat your body like that. And then if you do, and as Kyle said, you're going to be way better off later. And we have Instagram to blame for that. Where like people are like, I want to turn pro in 2 years. I got to be this where it is. I'll shut up now. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, both of you guys kind of took the first thing I thought. I was going to use the analogy of like an F1 race car, going around a street racetrack, because you're so right, Chris, about, the guy that wins the race isn't the guy that just gasses it the whole time and then slams on the brakes and runs into the wall because he doesn't finish the friggin' race, right?
Yeah.
But I want to tie it a little bit more to psychology and identity management, meaning, and you mentioned Instagram, right? And it ties into everything both you guys are saying. But when people tie their identity into being the bodybuilder or athlete that competes, getting on stage, getting peeled. I got to show my Instagram, showing me peeled all the time, showing me dry all the time. That can seriously mess you up. And it forces you to make decisions that you wouldn't otherwise make. And it forces you to it makes you not listen to your coach who's trying to steer you in the right direction. I also think it's tied into the psychology of athletes when they're done the sport. Like how many bodybuilders do we know and other athletes in our sport that have quit the sport and they don't even try to maintain a healthy physique or a healthy lifestyle? They just kind of like fall off the face of the earth. they put on a bunch of extra weight, they let their hormones go to crap, and they don't take care of their body. It's almost like they spent 10 years doing the most healthy thing or the most advantageous thing they could for their physiques, and then they just try to do the complete opposite. Like I can think of several friends that I have that it's like you wouldn't even know that they lifted a weight ever again. You wouldn't know that they eat more than one meal a day. They don't look healthy. I think that's something that the psychology tied to the sport and being a top high performing machine, and then what do I do with it when I'm done? I think there's a lot to be said about what we need to do to take care of people from there.
Do you think, Andrew, that when people kind of fall into that pot after they're done is more or less like maybe they were initially doing it for not maybe the wrong reasons, but not the right reasons, right? Because it's like it's hard to make an example of motocross, right? Because like I love riding. It's the greatest thing in part of my life, but I don't ride now. It's just like, people say, oh, if you can't race, that's fine. Just ride for fun. I kind of can't, but like, I still want to do it. But like, I just don't know where someone loves something so much and then they just abandon everything about it.
I think because bodybuilding is such an all or none type of sport.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and honestly, how many times have you seen bodybuilders that when they're on, they are on a fast track to the Olympia stage, and then maybe they got their wife pregnant or they had to take a different job and they're out of the sport. They haven't lifted a weight in 6 months. They're not eating their food. They're not even doing TRT, and they let their physiques go to shit. And then they come back to you again and they're like, hey coach, I'm ready to go. Like, and you see the steps of making the right kind of progress again, but then some other life thing comes up. Like there's no riding the middle. It's always like this or it's like that.
It's a good point. You think their initial, the main issue is like, because it's an extreme sport and they might be extreme individuals themselves, they kind of fall in that pendulum.
Yeah.
I was going to also ask you guys, what do you think as coaches, bodybuilding coaches, what can we learn from coaches in other sports, major sports?
Oh, dude, think about how much they do for the mental aspects of things.
Yeah.
Big time.
Okay, so let's talk about today's contemporary era where I feel like in a big way it's coaching by committee, meaning the coach, the opposing coach is weighing in, the athlete is weighing in. They're giving the information we're asking for, fatigue management, all that kind of stuff. But then they're kind of suggesting to you what they want to do. And I do feel like traditional sports have a better hierarchy of the coach has the ultimate decision-making power, and your job is to abide by it. Like I use this analogy all the time. Like Bill Belichick doesn't show up to training camp and say, okay, guys, what plays do you want to run? Well, what are we going to do today? You guys want to do hitting drills? Do you want to do passing drills? Like you tell me. It's like, no, he's done this, replicated, 40 seasons in a row. Here's the schedule. It's your job to fall in line, and that's how we're going to get it done. You know what I mean? I feel like there is a little too much coaching by committee, I guess is what I'll say.
Yeah, or they're kind of want to be involved with steering the ship.
Yeah. Or like, well, my posing coach, he's telling me that, I should probably push to get this type of conditioning, or, I need to train this a little bit more. And it's like, no. Have him stay in his lane. His job is to teach you the poses to make you look the best. I'm the one doing your training. I'm the one doing your diet, your PEDs. Let's all wear our hats and let's stay to it,
Yeah. What I was going to say is I think, in other sports, the outcome is always like heavily weighed, but I think more so specifically in bodybuilding, this is the case. And so what I mean by that is in other sports, coaches are evaluated heavily on how the athlete performs and the sustainability of the team, right? No one wants to play for, I think of like Tom Thibodeau, because I like mixed and stuff. He never uses bench players, so the players are fucking burnt. They're dead. Yeah, they perform well all year. Playoffs come, they don't get the results they need because they're just tired. The time management's off. So in cases like that, you also see coaches that evolve based on analytics and data, and then they also say, okay, like this is how these teams are performing. This is what this head coach says. They take a little bit and they understand that, okay, my way, it's not my way or the highway. Bodybuilding still to this day has such a dogmatic way of thinking, right? People are stuck in, this is how I did it 30 years ago. There's still some coaches that are around that do things a certain way, and we know it's not the right way to do things. We have the science to back it. We have anecdotal evidence, but still, we have a lot of people that, again, are just, they're emotionally ingrained with, I did it this way, this is how I do things. Whereas, again, I think all three of us, I'll speak for, we have a similar client. Maybe their prep is totally different than it was last year because we realize that the situation is much different. But then there are other people out there that are just like, this is what we do. This is what we always do. And it's just like, hey, it's not working. You have to assess and realize the team is now calling a different offensive play. What we planned for is no longer going to stop them. What are we going to do? Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're saying, like, even though you're working with Johnny 4 years in a row, it's almost like when every time you prep him every year, you're working with completely different athletes in a sense.
Could be, yeah.
You have some
to be able
data.
to adjust that. So as a coach, if you want to be on your game, you have to realize that, Chris, you've been doing a really good job. What the fuck are you doing different? Okay, like, let me try to adapt this and understand versus this is how we always did things, right? And I'm sure all of our clients that are OGs go back 10 years. Kyle, you made me do that. You're right. At the time, this is what I thought was best, but we evolve. But unfortunately, in bodybuilding, there's still a lot of coaches that just do things one way, and that's it. And you can't have that way of thinking because in all other professional sports, all the coaches do not coach how they did 10 years ago. The game is different. People's bodies are different, you know?
But you also gain new perspectives when you go through particular problems. I mean, all of us have had troubleshooting clients at one point were head scratchers. Now it's just a daily thing that we operate and you know exactly what the problem is.
But think of how many clients you get now that come to someone and you're able to identify like, well, why the fuck were you doing this?
Yeah, yeah.
And then like, the person's like, I only work with this coach and that's what we always do and it doesn't work anymore. So they were driving the car until it didn't drive right anymore and then they drove into the wall. Yeah. And now it has to get repaired, but the person doesn't know how to repair it because they only knew the one way to drive it every time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's the greatest feeling, though, to have that when you're like, when you see your guy do something and at one point, maybe 3 years ago, you're, ooh, that might be the right move. I'm not sure. But now you're just like, oh, yeah, we got to rinse that tan off. We're going to put a new tan on. And we're also going to take a quarter diet right now. Hold off on the water till 4 o'clock. We'll take another look at you and we'll go from there. And they're like, you already know. You know what I mean? And you're just like, and you're 100% confident in your decision. And then when the time comes at 4 p.m., you're like, perfect. Don't do anything. Let's eat the steak and the rice. Keep the fluid out. We'll do a little bit of fluid before pump up and we'll nail it. And then it ends up just like falling through. That's the greatest feeling. But to get there, you kind of got to fall a couple times.
you do. And you have to be willing to admit your mistakes, your faults, right? And say, okay, shit didn't go as planned. What can I do differently versus we're going to do the same thing and hope for a different result, you know?
For sure.
I was thinking the other thing that we can learn from other sports, and I do mention, I actually use Serena Williams. Am I saying their name right? Fuck, the tennis player?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And I go, listen, I said to them, like, listen, this is not a UFC fight. All right. You're not going to get hurt. All right. So nothing to be nervous about. All right. You've done all the work. You just need to relax and follow the plan. This is easy. You don't have to perform tomorrow. Technically, it's not like you're lining up a motocross gate and you're afraid to get run over. It's not like you're going to fight. It's not like there's $1 million on the line. All right. I remember watching a match with Serena Williams and it was like a 1 point fucking difference. And there's only like one set left. Half the crowd fucking hates her. The other half the crowd loves her. There's like gazillion dollars on the line. And that woman performs under pressure like you wouldn't believe. And I'm like, bro, you have half the pressure. You have an eighth of the pressure that she does. And you're falling apart. And you're, dude, come on. But it's just like, you look at some individual sports of people who've fallen off the top spot and they get it fucking back.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Like professional strongman, powerlifting. There's been like all extreme sports, dudes who skateboards, BMX, like those guys are nuts, but they're practicing, they're drilling it. If something goes wrong, like they have to perform. Could you just imagine being in a half pipe in X Games and you already went and you have close to the winning score and you're about to pull off the craziest trick? The TV's on you, the crowd's there, there's lights everywhere. It's not like you're by yourself with your boys in your backyard. And now you got to perform that technical ass trick. And with that pressure and you make it, that is what people should start looking at and be like, dude, these dudes are performing under the most absurd pressure. And if they fuck up, they can get paralyzed. And you're worried about being on stage because you're worried about somebody who shows up who just might be more conditioned than you. Come on, dude. Come on. Let's be realistic with what it like. I would love if my guys were a little more like, I have a lot of good guys, but I have some guys that need to thicken up their skin a bit. You know what I mean? And be less affected by their environment or less affected what they see on Instagram. Like, dude, you got to stay in your lane and be hyper focused. Like, it just don't be so reactive. And dude, I love championship mindsets of those dudes that like Like, I think about the athletes who got like a life changing injury, and they're like, "You're never gonna fucking ski again," and then they come back to the Olympics like 4 years later. What? You know what I mean? Like
How about
shit like that.
yeah, like Anderson Silva, like breaking his tib fib, whatever it was, like kicking someone, that thing's just freaking dangling there, right?
Yeah.
And then going through the repair process and getting in the ring to fight a guy again, like that takes balls, you know?
Dude, yeah, but like that I feel like is a big thing that a lot of competitors can take away. And I know some people are listening to this like, dude, it's not fighting. I know that, but a lot of bodybuilders are soft emotionally. They're not mentally flexible. And you have to be mentally flexible, and you can't be so deterred by somebody online being like, "Man, your forearms are small." You know what I mean? Like you just got to operate, dude, and do your thing and not be so emotionally thrown off.
At the end of the day, too, you're not judged just off one body part. You know what I mean? It's like you're judged on the whole of your physique and the flow of your physique, you know?
Yeah.
Don't listen to people on the Instagram or on the internet.
And at the end of the day, no matter what, I don't know. The show's going to come and go, right? You either win, only one person can win. And if you lose, you're going to hang it up. You're going to retire. Is it your last show? If it's not, it's like, okay, how can I be better?
Keep going.
I missed the mark, or you know what? I did really well. But the reality is people remember your last performance. So you could be fantastic, cheer you on, and then you can be shit. And people get on you. It's just a matter of what are you going to do next? And how are you going to do it?
Let me take it a step further. People don't remember your last performance. They don't remember your physique. They remember the kind of person you were and the kind of competitor you were. And this ties into exactly what we're talking about. Like, were you the kind of person that just one foot in front of the other? I'm going to try to get better. I'm going to keep getting better. Whether you reach that peak of the mountain that you have in your mind's eye of what your physique should look like or not, you can be remembered as someone that always had a positive attitude, always showed up fearless, always did what your coach asked you to do, or you could be someone that's always got excuses. And I think that's what people remember you for.
Andrew, that's a good point. What do you think about people that like they get hyper focused too much on the end goal?
Yeah.
So in other words, they're looking too far ahead. And people are like, gotta set goals. Yeah, I get it, dude. Relax. But I'm saying like you have 1,300 steps before you're there. Mm-hmm. So like all your focus should be right here. I had a conversation with my clients the other day, and he's like, how do you goal set? And I was like, well, when I first started bodybuilding, me becoming a professional was never a thought. The thought was, I want to step on stage. I stepped on stage. Then the thought was, I want to get better than I was this show. What do I need to get better? Well, X, Y, and Z every day. So every day, my goals and hyper focus was what I was doing that day. And then the next show comes, did better. Great. I want to move up again. What do I need to do to get better? X, Y, and Z again. I'm going to change this and do this every day. Now I'm focusing on this. I'm not like keep looking like how far this distant goal is. I'm focusing on what I like to do because it's fulfilling to me, because I know the work I'm putting in right now is going to make tomorrow better. Stacking 2, 3 days, 4 days, weeks, months together is going to make that next year that much better. Mm-hmm. Like, it seems like there's two types of people. The one that look way too far ahead, which creates this urgency, which kind of ties what you said, Kyle, earlier. Urgency, like, I have to make ground. I have to make ground. I'm not making ground. And they get all upset that they may not be making the ground of the expectations they created in their mind because the goalposts they created. When versus they should just be hyper focusing on committing to the goal committing to all the steps that's required to achieve that goal. It's kind of like, I don't know about you guys. I don't think we've ever in our life studied for a test in school and been like, I got to get an A. I got to get an A. I got to get an A. We're just like, stupid material. I'm going to fucking remember this shit. And then you're trying to remember it. And then you go and you get your grade and you're sweet. A B, it's not too bad. That's not too bad. Or like, you know what I'm saying? Versus like the kids in class, if they didn't get like an A, they would freak the fuck out and cry. It's like, bro,
I wouldn't cry, but I freaked the fuck out. I was going to get beat.
Oh, well, that's a different scenario.
But no, I know exactly what you mean. At the end of the day, like you said, I mean, I think people aren't the best at dealing with pressure. And again, there's many reasons that we can dive into as to why that's the case. But again, you got to have thick skin, I think, to be a good athlete. So main takeaway when we talk about and reference these professional athletes, we even see in other sports, I don't know who mentors some of them because they can't speak to the media. They say shit that gets them in trouble. They take the phone, they do tweets and go live. And it's just like, damn, you have the wrong people around you because you're ruining shit. People are going to remember the dumb things you're doing. So I think it's profound, but it's just, if you focus, if you take away from if you look at every sport, the major athletes, you mentioned Serena Williams, elite athletes like that, there are things you can take away that'll make you a better bodybuilder, a better person. You know?
One more thing to add to that is pressure, expectations. It's not real. You can't touch it. We as individuals create that in our own mind. How many times have any one of us, somebody told us about an awesome movie? Bro, it's the funniest fucking movie ever. And now you're in your head, you're like, it's going to be funny as fuck.
Bar's up here.
And then you go watch it and it's a disappointment. Or a restaurant. You're like, dude, this restaurant's the fucking best steak ever. And you go there, you're like, oh, it's kind of like, ugh, I didn't really feel it, right? But it's something we created. Even in relationships, we have an expectation for our partner to act a certain way or to know something and they don't, then we get upset. It's like expectations and pressure. I try to tell my clients, I'm like, it's not fucking real. It's not real. It's not outside the door. And every time you open the door, it's going to fucking grab you and choke you. It's not. It's in your own mind. So like, stop thinking and focusing and overthinking on things that's creating pressure, because that's just only pulling you away from how you perform optimally. If you're just hyper focused on, this is meal one, I'm prepping my meals for work today, I'm going to make sure I do this before this time of night so I get a nice sleep, and I'm going to focus on my squats today because I can't wait to get to the gym and do squats. And if you keep your brain very short-sighted on all those steps in a day, you won't have time to focus on expectations of pressure. You won't. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, yeah. I remember feeling pressure like that when I used to race motocross. I remember like putting everything into it and then falling, breaking my arm and being like, fuck. Like, it's just like, okay, it happens. It's part of the game. Got to get up, do it again. You got to do it again, do it again. But eventually you just kind of like, you tune that out because it just makes your life miserable. Yeah. Because unnecessary pressure and expectations makes you miserable. And the other thing I hate when people say, I'm really competitive, coach. No shit, Sherlock, because we're all fucking competing. And if we're competing, we're competitive and you don't like to lose. Nobody likes to fucking lose. But the bottom line is like, a lot of times people say that, those are the ones that end up being poor losers. Okay. Yeah. Those are the ones that don't end up actually going all the way. Not all the case, but some cases. My clients that I've had that like seem to persevere every single time they fell, they made the fastest ground and made it the furthest. They get off stage, got fourth place. What's next? What do we do now? Mm-hmm. What's next? What's the next show? Good. All right, cool. Call you Monday. That's it. You know, like those guys end up just, and their quality of life, their enjoyment of the sport of bodybuilding is so much greater than the other people. Somebody posted something on the internet, and I'll shut up. He said, one thing I regret about bodybuilding, I wish I could give him credit for this. And he said, never being satisfied with my accomplishments along the way. Because during the time of climbing each show and doing better and better, I was always disgusted with what I saw. I was never satisfied. And it made the whole process almost like a miserable process. And then looking back at it, he was like, fuck, man, I actually made a lot of good ground and I did really well. But my perspective at the time was very negative and it was never good enough. You can be unsatisfied as in like, I'm not content where I want to be. This is not where I want to be, but you should give yourself accolades of what you have accomplished. If you're 10 pounds heavier on stage and you look better the next year, even though you didn't win, that's still fucking awesome. You know?
I agree. That was a good segment. It went way longer than I thought it would, but that was good. So thank you, Dr. Kiko, for the question. All right. So this is an easy one. Leon _LMBK. Do you advise your athletes to pose to the judges if they are out on the side? Do you angle? He just asked if you angle. Like if you're all the way on the right or all the way on the left, you angle to the head judge. The answer is yes. You slightly angle in. Simple. Slightly. Like you don't need to turn and face. You don't need to make a semicircle out of it. You just turn and face just slightly. Okay.
Wait. If they're in the lineup or on the side?
In the call out.
They're in the call out.
Oh, they're in the call out.
They're like, let's say they're in the 5th or 6th position, right?
Okay, yeah. Then I
just slightly angle.
I tell them to turn.
That's the right etiquette. You want to make sure that the judge all the way to the right of the head judge is getting a good look at your physique, and then the judge on the other side is getting a good look of your, you know? Yeah, you want to make sure everyone gets a good look at your physique, because otherwise you might get overlooked.
100%.
Martin Coopers, what does a new low mean? What does a new low mean, I guess, on a high day in prep? I guess after a high day in prep. So like you gave an athlete a refeed, the next morning they're lower, they hit a new low.
No, he's asking what that is, why that happens.
Yeah, like
It's not a metabolism boost, guys. It's not like all of a sudden the high day boosted you another 3,000 calories of calorie burn. It's just cortisol dropping. And when you get fatigued and cortisol gets higher, your body retains water, masking the fat loss of the week. You refeed and your cortisol drops and your body diureses that water, revealing the fat loss is there. That's really what it is.
I would say to add to that, depending on if someone's doing a couple high days in a row, at that point, I think we can all say, depending on how you're structuring your refeed, if you're just putting a little bit of carbs, for example, in meals, and you're not necessarily increasing the caloric intake, you're just replacing macros. Maybe I took, Chris says, hey, Kyle, you're at 250 protein, 200 carb. Maybe I went down to 200 carb, increased by 50, 200 protein, increased by 50 carb. At that rate, then we can say, okay, maybe we're increasing our metabolism for a short period of time. But I think, Chris, the way you word is quite perfect.
It's like, I remember Lee Norton posting all the studies about showing refeeds and natural bodybuilders to see if there's actually increased metabolism or refeeds in people in weight loss programs. And the increase in metabolism was like 200 calories. But what they found was when you give somebody more food, they move more. And ultimately, if you have more energy and you feel psychologically better, you move more, and the total calories expended through movement almost tripled with the people who had refeeds and that didn't.
Well, so then let me ask you this. What would you say, let's say you're doing refeeds on people's rest days. And like I like to call it an adrenal reset day, where you don't even have them do steps. You're like, get some steps in, but I don't want you counting your normal 8 or 10,000 or whatever. No cardio, no training. I want you basically eating, relaxing, watching movies, taking it easy that day. So what would you say explains that then?
It's the water. It's the cortisol dump.
Yeah.
It's 100%. Like that's my professional opinion. Like I don't see it. I've never seen somebody get stuck and then you feed them and all of a sudden they lose all this weight. It's like when fatigue gets higher and fatigue is present and like you can start to see the physique getting a little flat and you feed them just enough or that right amount for that person and they drop. It's 100%. Like there's no way somebody's burning a pound of body fat in 24 hours through a refeed. Like there's no fucking way.
Here's another one from him, an addendum. How to determine calories on high day? I feel like he asked this before. Someone asked this like 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had just said generally, let's just say we have a base diet and an off day diet. Maybe the first thing we'll do is take the person's carbs and just throw some extra carbs in. So it's hard to say a number. I'd like to say double, but if your carbs are already high, I probably ain't doubling it. So maybe you're at 300. Maybe we'll do 450, see how that goes, and then use that as a baseline moving forward. I could have gave you a little bit more in the case that it dropped you a little bit, and then the following week we went back into a fat loss phase and we're getting the rate of which we're looking for on a weekly basis. We might just repeat it, right? It depends what the goal is, I'd say. Chris, how would you add to that?
Dude, my high days for my clients are always based on progression through the diet through preparation. It's like you bring their calories down, they start progressing. They get a little hungry, a little tired. Okay, let's bump the calories up, maybe 500, maybe 1,000 for a day and see how they respond. And you see the response. Okay, that was a little too much of a weight spike. They don't need it. Let's throw the calories a little down. And then it just progresses and progresses and progresses. It's not a mathematical equation. It's solely...
Okay, thank you. I was waiting for someone to say that.
Yeah, it's just an adjustment based on your history of your body's response.
And wouldn't you say the first time you give someone a refeed or high day, it's just based off some competent assumptions for what the athlete can handle? You might be way off, you might be a little bit off, but it's based off based off the data and the diet that you have them on. You come up with some competent plan for what would make sense, and then you kind of add to it or you take away from it. You know, if someone's on 100 grams of carbs a day, I think for most people, bumping them up to like 1,000 is probably a little bit of a stretch on your first refeed,
dude,
right?
for sure.
But
That's
in the same token, I think bumping them up like 50 grams of carbs probably isn't going to do much for them either in that respect. So there's somewhere in the middle there. Maybe, okay, you've been on 100 grams of carbs for 10 days. I'm maybe going to bump you up to 350 or 400. Let's see what happens.
That's a Hail Mary, right? When people like throw some random shit doesn't make sense. It's like, oh, my coach allows me to do like 0 carb, and then Saturday he tells me to eat as many waffles as possible in an hour. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What the fuck? But I want to add one thing about the cortisol thing, and like this is like I don't know if you guys' viewpoints are different, but like I just don't feel that the high days The reason why there's a weight change is not solely the metabolism boost through just thermal effective food alone. I don't think so. And this is the other thing. You ever had anybody keep you like they're stuck and they're tired, and the last time you fed them, fatigue didn't drop, and you're like, you know what? Listen to me. I want you to stay in your low calorie days. I don't even want you to train for 3 days. Don't fucking train at all. No cardio. Keep steps low. No weight training. And they lose 5 pounds in that 3 days.
No.
It's like, what was holding that weight? Fucking stress and cortisol in the, I swear too much, sorry. Stress and cortisol in the body. Their body's just inflamed.
Let me ask you guys this both. Do you tend to go one or the other, meaning pull back the allosteric stress of training cardio, or do you go the other way and add food, or a combo of both usually?
Kyle?
It's a combination of both, right? I think it's a little independent. So in a perfect world, let's just say prep is going great. Person starts to say, you know what? I'm starting to feel a little beat up and tired. Okay. Right? Maybe my first thought is like, we haven't fed you. Let's give you a day of food. See if it helps. If you're like, hey, I still feel like fucking balls. I'm like, okay, cool. Like my next step is let's take off. I might not bump the food. It might be your base day, but hey, don't go to the gym. How do you feel now? Usually, like you had mentioned, if you feel so miraculously better because of food, I don't think that's the case from a physical standpoint. And what I mean by that is, I had somebody in prep a week ago, right? And we were having this conversation, very demanding job they work. And they gave them food. And they're like, hey, I'm so fucking hungry. This sucks. Like, I don't want the food. They weren't feeling better. They were just hungrier, right? So to me, I'm like, yeah, like that's how high days, in my opinion, should be. Like when you get them, it's annoying because you're fucking hungrier. Like you're throwing fuel in this furnace. So the times in which people are like, oh, I feel so much better. It's like, okay, maybe you just needed some food. Like that made you mentally feel better, because the reality is you're still in deficit. You're still in a fat loss phase. Nothing changed. So I think sometimes it's identifying what psychologically is really going on with the person. Are they really feeling beat up, or are they just looking at their partner and everyone else eating food around them, and it's been 2 weeks of them not having food? And it's like, okay, you don't need a day off. You need food mentally. And in other cases, it's like, okay, you just need some rest from the gym and maybe some food because we haven't fed you.
I've done this before where I know their high days are about 1,200 calories more, right? And they're like, dude, these high days, I'm just bumming, man. Like, just don't feel any different. And then I just add 1,200 calories from like, what do you like to eat? And they're like, bro, I love a ribeye. Ribeye.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm like, yeah, do you like sourdough bread? Like, love sourdough bread. And then I calculate 1,200 calories and exactly that. And I give it to them. And they're like, bro, I feel amazing right now. Like, this is insane. Like, I'm like, as soon as I finished that meal, dude, I felt energy, and I was such in a good mood the rest of the night. Psychological effect of food. Yeah. It's not like the food did it, not the calories did it, because you were eating the same extra calories before, just more of your own diet food. So the psychological effect of food sometimes is super triggering to some people.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And some people don't care. Some people are, I don't know.
Andrew, what about you? What about you in that question?
Oh, both. Combination of both. I mean, early on, it might just be, let's try something with food. But then very quickly, I think you realize systemically that they need both, And think about it logically, right? Like we keep using the car analogy. You can only do so many road trips before you got to get an oil change and do some maintenance on the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
And if you think of a prep as like a cross-country trip circling around the whole United States, you're going to have to stop and pull off and probably change the oil after 2,000 miles or so, and maybe adjust the brakes or maybe adjust the alignment. And that's kind of how I see it is just these minor adjustments to get the car back on the road,
And think like you ever get the situation where like this person, like they keep telling you they need a refeed. Oh, dude, I'm so tired again. I'm so tired again. I'm like, whoa. If you're tired again, like, let's just finish the week, and then I'm gonna give you 2 high days. And like, how do you feel, coach? I don't feel that much better. Maybe we need more calories. No, you need to stop training the way you're training, because you're running yourself into the ground. And then you ask them questions. They're like, well, I did add like 3 extra sets for back and 3 extra sets for legs, and we did a triple drop set in hack squats. I'm like, dude, it's not food. Because you know what it is, if it's food and you give them food, they feel better, and it transfers into better training performance. But if you give them a high day and they still feel like a bag of dicks, and the next day in the gym, like everything still feels heavy, well, guess what? It's not food.
Right. I think also you got to be a good coach can read between the lines on what they're asking for. Because, like, how often do you get the could really use a high day coming up, waiting for that cheat meal? Go ahead, you know? And it's like, to me, I'm kind of like, dude, first off, you need to get mentally stronger. Okay. If we're both coming from the same place of we want you to be absolutely peeled on show day, then please don't ask me that kind of stuff. I'm reading your metrics, I'm reading your data. Like, I've done this a few times, you know? I always get sometimes I get hey, we haven't refed me in 6 or 7 days now. Like, what are you thinking? Like, I'm like, I'm thinking nothing, dude. You're dropping a consistent like 1.2 pounds every 3 days. Like, let's keep riding this train because the going's good, you know?
And your performance is good. So why are we messing with anything?
Yeah. And you know, the other thing too is like at some point you're going to be a little tired and a little hungry during prep. Like at some point you just can't escape that, you know?
100%.
All right. So this one's from Marcus Shands. Diet or other suggestions for someone with low blood sugar, even in the off season?
Oh, that's me.
All the time?
I have hypoglycemia. I've diagnosed it. Yeah.
There's a couple of things. Well, you explain your situation first, and I'll explain another one.
You have to choose foods that have better glycemic control for one. You got to include dietary fat with each meal. If you still have problems with that carbohydrate load that you're eating, even if it is lower glycemic, they need to lower the load of the carb and increase the dietary fat. Obviously, every meal should be complete. You know,
explain carb load because people might not know what that is.
Oh, like total, like in other words, like total carb load, is as in the total amount of carbs in that one particular meal. Glycemic index more being like white rice versus oat bran or oatmeal or potatoes. Like things digest at different rates, and obviously, fat delays gastric emptying, thus slowing the rise in blood sugar. So, like, I've always had to like when I go on a low fat diet. When Aceto had me on a low fat diet, I felt horrid.
I bet
horrid. It was like bing, 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 and the second you like lower the rice from like 45 grams of carbs to 30, and just give me like 5 grams of fat, I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Mentally, you're more alert. You're sustainable energy throughout the day. Better training performance. Yeah,
and then of course sleep, dude. If you're getting shit sporadic sleep all the time, like even right now, like when I get poor sleep, obviously your glycemic control gets affected because your insulin sensitivity changes when you're, getting poor sleep. So like I notice dips much more often when I'm not getting good sleep. And it's not like I need more sleep. It's like my body's glycemic control's fucked. You know what I mean? It's just like I have to regulate that. Caffeine can affect it. And of course, your meal timing. You don't want to have like meals at drastically different times all the time.
Are you guys familiar with the GAD65 antibodies? So for some people, they have this autoimmune condition where they eat carbohydrates. Their pancreas releases insulin like it should, right? But in these people, their immune system recognizes insulin as a foreign invader, the same way it would, an antigen or something that shouldn't be there. So it attaches to the insulin, rendering the insulin useless for a period of time. So then the pancreas releases more insulin to help control the blood sugar and bring it back down to normal levels. But then those antibodies only hold on to the insulin that's in your system circulating for I think usually it's about 2 hours, and then they fall off. And then you have this surge of insulin hitting your bloodstream out of the blue. And then these people, like I didn't understand it until I actually had several clients that had it. And then I did a lot of research. And I'm like, go get this gene test and see if you got it. And sure enough, they did. And, their blood sugar dropped to like 32 after just doing like some simple walking on a treadmill,
that sucks because those feelings of like that sucks.
Well, like you think you're eating appropriately, you're not cheating, you're not eating high glycemic foods and trying to put yourself on a roller coaster, and then out of the blue, it's like your blood sugar just drops for no reason, Ben Stonell, opinions on Primo. Do you use it with many people you coach?
50%, maybe 50%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't say I actively don't use it. It's like, here's what I do with drugs, at least, primarily with guys that have some experience. I'm like, tell me what drugs you've used in the past. Tell me your experiences, positive and negative, mainly highlighting negative side effects. We want to avoid those, right? And then from there, we build the cycle out. If a guy comes to me and says, hey, my last prep, this is how I looked. These were the cycles. This was the cycle I did. I don't care if I'm copying the other coach. Like, that looks like it worked for you. You didn't have negative side effects. It looks like they didn't push your trend too high. We're probably going to do something very similar versus like, maybe if someone's like, hey, Nandrolones, like they just make me crazy, and I can't sleep at night, and I'm acting really weird at work, and I almost got fired. It's like, well, guess what? I'm not going to tell you to take Tren or NPP or Deca. Like, why would I do that to you? So I think it all starts with the side effects. Primobolan, in my opinion, is a pretty innocuous compound when it comes to side effects. There's not really much in the way of mental aspects or making people feel a certain way negatively. So I think it's what do we used to call it back in the day, Chris?
Girl drug.
A girl drug, yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Kyle?
I'll use it. Again, it's not too legitimate these days, it seems. Did I ever think that was the end-all, be-all drug of choice to really put on size? No, I don't. It wasn't my first choice, right? If I was trying to slam on size on someone. So, again, at the end of the day, the longer I feel like I do this, the more whatever we have available will make work. And if you can't grow off a drug, I think we have other problems,
Yeah.
I think of 3 downfalls to Primo. You can go on to the next. Is one, a high percent of people do get PIP. It's 100 milligrams per milliliter, so there's a decent injection volume, and the cost. I mean, like it is more expensive. So if someone's going to be doing 600 milligrams a week, and they get PIP, is that an option? Jordan can't use Primo at all, because he gets bad PIP. Bad. It's just like 25 milligrams, bad PIP.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not fun. That's not fun. All right, so this one I think is from one of Kyle's clients, Danielle's Journey. In a check-in, I told him I wanted to ask about it on the pod, and he said, go for it. Plateaus in weight gain post coming off GLPs. I read that backwards. Plateaus in weight gain post coming off GLPs. Thoughts? Kyle and I talked about it in a check-in, and I told him I wanted to ask about it on the pod, and he said, go for it.
So let me get this straight in the question. The question is, he can't gain weight after using GLP?
I think it's a she, and I think she was talking about gaining too much weight after discontinuing a Reactive or Tirzepatide or something like that. Yeah, is that the situation, Kyle?
Yeah, the situation in her case, obviously she's an athlete, but she's been on a weight loss journey, we can say, and prior coaches and other advice out there, sometimes they put people on these GLPs. And I don't want to say they forget about them, but they don't give a shit. They're just like, hey, here's 2 milligrams, here's 4 milligrams, here's 6, here's 8, here's 10. And what GLPs don't do, they don't fix habits, right? And then you remove them. So if you're still a foodie at heart like me, you're a fat ass, you love eating cookies and shit, I'm always going to want to do those things until I don't want to do them because of willpower and self-discipline and recognizing bad habits. Taking that something away from me, all you're doing is putting me in like a really bad position if I didn't mentally condition myself. So that's problem number one. And then what she's saying, for example, is at some point, I don't believe it's something you should stay on year round. I don't think it's something you should stay on for years on end either. Okay. Yeah. So if I'm using something like that, if there's a short time period, hey, let's use this to get something out of it. Is it actually helping? Because if it's not medically helping, if your insulin is still fasting insulin is way over 10, right? Everything's not working. You're not losing weight. I don't like to use something just because it was supposed to work. Guess what? It's not working for you. It's not doing what it's supposed to. Let's look at other options and kind of go from there. But in her case, again, we came off it and she's more concerned about, okay, what is the rebound like? How does this work? And that's where, hey, psychologically, let's just get on the same page here and understand what the real problems usually are for people. Not always, but I'll kind of pause there and let you go from there.
Okay. Well, Pfizer would disagree with you. They want everyone on them for the rest of their life because it'll be the biggest drug that ever hit the market for them. And
Retta, Eli Lilly for sure.
Eli Lilly. I mean, I don't know if you guys have purchased, stock.
I have.
Yeah, same here, dude. For that fucking reason,
I have.
And I don't like fucking pharmaceutical companies at all.
Nope.
It's like everyone's going to be on them by 2030, so you might as well join the wave and invest in it. But that being said, I think when you come off of a GLP-1, right? Well, we got to think like, what is the main mechanism that they allow people to lose weight? In my opinion, it's appetite suppression for most people. Okay. So I think the conversation needs to start with, hey, we're going to wean you off this drug and you're going to start to get a little bit hungrier. We need to find ways to work around that, whether it's more dense foods more nutrient-rich foods, structuring your diet in a way that satisfies you a little bit better, and just understanding that with anything that's worth doing, there's going to be a little bit of sacrifice and suffering, and sometimes that's hunger, right? I think that's the first place you start with her. But the other thing is, I don't think you go from 4 milligrams down to 0. I think,
No,
you know,
typically, no. That's very
4
true.
milligrams down to 3 milligrams for a few weeks, down to 2 milligrams for a few weeks, down to a half milligram for a few weeks, down to nothing. So maybe over 6-8 weeks, you're weaning someone off of it. I think that's probably the appropriate way to go. What do you got, Chris?
I just think I want to. I agree with everything you guys said, but I want to add in the psychological aspects of it. The more you worry and obsess about it, the more it's probably going to become a reality.
Yeah.
Because now you're like, oh my God, I'm craving food more. Oh my God, this tastes so good. Oh my God. Because I've had people use Retta and come off Retta and never gain more weight back.
Right.
And they're like, I'm not even the same level hungry because they've adopted into that plan and they're good in their new habits, but they didn't worry about it.
Yeah.
You know, I think worrying about something sometimes becomes, those people that tend to binge eat are the ones that tend to like look at food very differently than most people.
Yeah.
Like it controls them. It manifests in their mind. They get anxiety around it. Yeah. But like I always tell them, like, have there been times where you're around bad food and you don't even think about it? He's like, yeah, matter of fact, I have. Like I've been around situations where my favorite food, I don't even think about it. And I didn't have any cravings at all. I mean, it's because your mind becomes fixated on it. If you become fixated on the worry of gaining and the rebound, it might become more likely reality. It might not, but I always think that like, don't waste your energy worrying about that.
It's like a self-defeating, self-fulfilling prophecy if you focus on it too much.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's why you have a coach, right? Kyle's coaching you, Danielle, and you got support there. You got someone that's going to gradually bring your calories in the right direction and be there as a mode of support for you. So, Liam_Cross, very pale. How should I dose Melanotan 2 for my show in 6 weeks?
Never used it. I don't know anything about it.
I'm going to say, first off, it's not necessary. If you don't want to do it, like they can get your tan dark enough, unless you're like the most Irish guy in the world, or albino or something like that, or whatever. Like albino people are also like really, really pale skinned.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to use it, this is how I would tell someone to use it. Maybe do like 500 micrograms every other day for like the first week, and then maybe drop it down to 250 after the second or third week just for maintenance, and adjust. Because it's one of those compounds that's also very individual. Like I know people that have done like 1 milligram a week. I don't know if it was necessary. They got pretty dark. Heck, one of my clients that was just over here the other day, I thought she had a show tan on when she walked in the house because her legs had that look. She's the type that gets like that nice, rich, almost reddish, like it looked like Protan was on her or Dream Tan.
Nate's like that. My assistant coach Nate's like that.
Really? Like just has really nice.
You already put Protan on? He's like, no, this is just my skin. What the fuck?
Like lucky people,
Yeah.
She uses I think it's like 150 micrograms like a few times a week, So it's very individual, dose dependent. What do you think, Kyle?
I think, well, there's MT1, MT2, right? I think MT2, I would always recommend starting low, like anything. I think there's some more harsher side effects sometimes with people that they experience, nausea and stuff like that. Is it needed? No, I can't. I've done it once or twice. I think there's things out there that kind of point to it not being the most healthiest. And from a pigment standpoint, I know people mention sometimes, hey, I have this new freckle all of a sudden on my arm that didn't exist. And it's like, hey, like that's what you see on the external. That's what you see on the exterior, right? I can't tell you. We don't know what's on the inside. Anyone that tries to proclaim that, oh, this is what it's doing, I don't know, man. So something that can really affect it like that, I wouldn't say use year round. Is there a reason maybe before the show, could you do it, get a better base color? Sure. But again, like anything, guys, be mindful, right? In moderation, you'll be fine. I'll be honest. Most things you take in life, if you do it in moderation and you're smart about it, you'll be okay. When you start abusing shit and you try to get it tomorrow, that's when you run into the issues. And then you see the people on the forums and they're like, the experience was terrible. And it's like, yeah, because you're an idiot.
You ever seen someone use too much of it and it almost looks like, I don't know, they're an X-Men creature. They're some sort of like Nightcrawler, like brown,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sandman_health. This one, I don't know if you would know much about this, Kyle, just because you're not geographically located from that area, but best gyms in Massachusetts.
The only gym I can think of is Nate's gym.
Nate, Gym Hub, Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Nate Tillo's gym. You'll see, Jose Raymond there all the time. You'll see Jay Cutler pop in a lot of the time when he's in the area. I was thinking of you ever been to General Fitness in Fall River? It's a nice gym. Like, I mean, it's old school, a lot of old school pieces, but he's getting a lot of new stuff. It's got a huge layout, everything you possibly need to be a really solid, hardcore bodybuilder. I've never been there, but everyone I know from the area likes Prime in North Oxford, and then Olympus in Framingham, Mass. And then I got to give a shout out if you're on the New Hampshire Massachusetts border, right across the border in Nashua. One of my ex clients, Eric Langoy's gym, Reality Training Co. He's built a nice gym and community there. So there's your options. A_lifts, one of my guys. What do you look for in an apprentice? We all have apprentices. And a coach, apprentice coaches.
Kyle, I mean,
I look for someone that has intellectual curiosity, someone that understands that they're not doing it just for money, right? Because if they are, it just bothers me because it's not how I got into it. It was more of a side quest and something that I found to be a passion, and I wanted to help people. And I see a lot of the times people don't have that motivation and passion, right? So you can fake it, but I kind of see through it, and I see the reason as to why. So that's the first thing I look for. Second thing I look for is someone that understands there's a right way to do things and a wrong way. And the right way doesn't mean it's my way. It means having a rational mindset when it comes to doing things and applying things and understanding, like, okay, maybe use yourself as a guinea pig at times. When you're working with people, don't necessarily go and take on all the competitors. Get your feet wet and understand, conquer your backyard before you start conquering the neighborhood and trying to go international and things like that. So that's what I try to look for in an apprentice, is someone that is really kind of, whether they have a coaching business already or not, someone that is coachable in the sense of, hey, this is the situation. This is where I think we could do things differently. And that's how I try to guide them. They don't have to be a replica of me. I don't think anybody can be a replica of me, if I'm being honest. What I look for is someone that is looking to be better and doesn't think they know it all, because I don't know it all. I think I have experience, and that's even invaluable in terms of, without it, I don't think I'll be where I am today. And I think the same probably goes for you guys. But you're not going to get that until you kind of get your feet wet. You're going to make a few mistakes. It's okay. Present them. Don't lie about the situations and stuff like that and try to cover your tracks, right? That's the morals and integrity I kind of stand behind.
For you, Chris?
My three coaches have been clients of mine for years, so I know them. And the most important thing for me was that they were a good person, like through and throughout. Like, I knew they were a solid individual, which obviously coincides with humility and integrity. And I just needed that. And then I can train them. Mm-hmm. Because from that point, those people are very trainable and they're eager to learn. So I presented to them if they were interested in doing it. Coincidentally, Nate reached out to me to ask, and I was actually on the list for me to reach out to him, which was funny. And I've been prepping Nate, and Nate's won tons of overalls together over the last 10. He's been a client of mine for like 13 years. Yeah. So it's like, I know him inside and out. You know what I mean? So like, that was, for me, it's just like, I never wanted anybody to represent the Tuttle brand. Like, it was just me. Yeah. And like, for me just to like find some random person, like people saying like, oh, you should take applications. And I'm like, but I don't know them. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you guys kind of like, you had your own way of screening because it's representing your guys' company.
Well,
like,
I think I can agree with, I could speak for Kyle too. Both of our apprentice coaches are our clients. Yeah. And they've been, like in my case, Ryan's been with me for like 8 or 9 years now too. So it's like, there's that familiarity. Like, I already know that you're thinking kind of how I'm thinking, you know? Exactly. I would also say, you know, I'm looking for someone that's an autodidact and that like they're curiosity driven. They're self-taught. Like, put it this way, like when I see something and I don't understand, it's getting written down. I'm going to friggin' research the hell out of it because it almost hurts my feeling that I don't know that stuff yet. You know what I mean? Right. And I want to see those qualities and traits in someone else too, where I don't have to be like, hey, go research this, this, and that thing. Like you've already had those wheels spinning in your head of like, I should understand this stuff, whether it's adrenal health or hormones or supplements or whatever the heck it might be in our field, right? So you're very curiosity driven on your own without someone telling you, here's my course that you got to take, and you got to know this, that, and everything else. Like you're doing a lot of self-learning on your own. You're resourceful, meaning you know where to find the information. You're not just 100% reliant on a textbook or just emailing me for questions or watching YouTube podcasts, or like you have several sources that you're going to develop your opinions and your techniques. And then you're self-directed. You basically, they direct themselves at their own pace in terms of what do they want to get better at? How do I prioritize what is the most important stuff to get better at for me to get better as a coach? I think those things are really important. So, but I agree with all the things that you guys both said. I do think developing someone out of your own coaching tree is primarily the way to go, because you already know that person's quality. If you've kept them as a client for 5, 7, 15 almost years in your case, Chris, then you wouldn't keep a client if you didn't think they were quality. You know what I mean? For that long period of time. So you already know they're
and you get to know them. Like you get to know the type of person they are. And like, I'm sure every employer is looking at they're like, obviously they don't need to know their personality, but they're probably looking at like, fuck man, if I hire this fucking dude, I hope they're good people. I hope they're not going to come shoot up the place. I hope they're not going to steal from us. I hope they're going to show up on time. I hope they're going to do their damn fucking job description. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that is what I worry about, because I also think about this, right? If you're just picking dudes out of a hat, they could be like, I'm going to join you for 6 months and then bail out.
Yep.
Like,
I'm going to use you for the exposure for the clients, and then I'm going to try to take the team from you. And yeah, I agree.
Dude, I've had people do my mentorship and then tell all their clients they're currently being mentored under me.
Yep.
And then they come to me and they're like, dude, are you mentoring this dude? And I'm like, we had one phone call.
That's
and he's like, oh, he's telling everybody that he's mentoring you and like that. And they're using that. He's using that to get clients.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's pretty scummy. Either. That's a scummy thing to do. You know,
I don't like
that. Tristan.Turner. How differently did society/family treat you after going enhanced?
Oh, that was a terrible conversation. But
with your parents or what?
Oh, it was just so awkward. My dad was like disappointed. That was worse. If he was like, you fucking idiot, what are you doing? I'm like, Dad, I want to get jacked. Then it'd been an argument, but he was just like, he comes over to me. He finds girl from my refrigerator. And he's like, Chris, can I talk to you for a second? I'm like, he's helped me fix my sink. And I'm like, what? And he goes, I was hungry and I was looking for something to eat in your fridge. And I found your somatotropin. And I'm like, oh. And he goes, I thought you were going to go about this natural. Like he said, just like that. And I was like, Dad, I got nothing to say. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I didn't even know what to say. I just walked away. I was like, I didn't walk this way. And then I came back and to regroup myself. And I was like, Dad, like, I understand the disappointment. And like, I understand. I get it. You don't have to accept it. I just wanted to see what my body can do. You know, like that's ultimately it. And he's like, I was like, I go, I can say this. Now my mom's never going to see this. And he's like, are you going to tell Mom? He goes, oh no, I'm not going to tell Mom. And then my mom finds a box from GPZ that had syringes in it. GPZ, opens it. And I guess my dad's like, and I was there, my mom goes, are these syringes? What are these syringes for? Because my dad's a physician, you know, like, my dad's like, I don't know. They could be Chris's trying to play dumb, you know. He's like, I don't know. So I come home and my mom's standing there, like you know the look your mom gives you when you got caught, like they find your beer when you're a kid or your pot, and they're like, and you pull in the driveway, and I'm like, fuck, I wonder what this is about. And I look down and see my mom's got a box in her hand. Oh, fuck. And then my dad's standing directly behind her, and he's like, don't say that I fucking know, you know? Yep. And then my mom's like, what are these for? I'm like, Mom, what do you think they're for? She's like, well, I don't know. They're IV drugs. I'm like, Mom, they're not IV drugs. Like, they're vitamins, Mom, vitamins. She's like, no, they're not. Are they for steroids? I go, yeah, Mom, they are. Well, what kind? And I was like, Mom, if I said Norandrolone, Decanate, or Equipoise, would that ring a bell? Probably not. Why are we having this conversation? And then she's like, are you going to get in trouble? I'm like, I fucking hope not. I hope I'm not going to get in trouble. Like, this is a
Keep
conversation.
your fucking mouth shut. I won't.
And my mom's looking at my dad. My dad's like, I'm learning about this too now. I'm learning about this too. And he's looking at me like, don't fucking sell me out. And that was the conversation. And then after that, we never really had a conversation again. If I had a weird package, my mom's like, oh, that funny stuff's in that package over there. But fuck, dude, it was terrible. I thought it was terrible, but it didn't change my relationship with my parents after that. Yeah. But my dad would be like, well, now I know why your lab work's all fucking weird, because I used to think it was just weird because you're an anomaly, but now I just know you're being a jackass.
That's funny. How'd you tell your parents, Kyle, or how, did they figure it out?
I didn't until this podcast. I'm going to have this conversation, I suppose, right? It is similar to Chris's situation. I never really had the conversation with my mom. When I was younger, I would come home from college and she would do some laundry, right? And the one time I remember I came home and on the kitchen table, I actually didn't live with my mom, but so I would go in between houses, my dad, my mother's. I came to my mother's, and on the table was a Deca, surprisingly, right? Oh. And a Vial. And I'm like, damn, where the fuck was that? So she's not in the room. So I'm like, continue on my day, right? Go do whatever the fuck I got to do. And then she's like, hey, I left something for you on the table. I was like, oh, I didn't see the mail. She's like, it wasn't mail. It was this round vial, the Deca. I'm like, I don't know. She's like, I tried to look it up, but I don't think I typed it right. I said, yeah, it's not mine. I blame it on my roommate. So I remember I called my roommate. I said, yo, I'm sorry. This is yours if someone says anything. And that was that. And as far as with my dad, I think the one time I had, I don't know why, I laid out a collection of all the vials I had gone through, me and my roommate and a couple of our friends. And I had all the empties, right? And I remember I just left them there. And I ran to work. I just forgot. And I came home and he's like, clean that shit up in your room. And I'm like, what the fuck's he talking about? And I remember I went in there and I was like, oh, he saw 55 vials.
Oh,
fuck, dude. But other than that, he was just more of, don't do that dumb shit. I hope you're not doing that dumb shit. And that was just kind of the only conversation I've ever had to date. It was just like an acknowledgement of be smart with what you're doing. I know you're not a moron, but you're kind of doing something that's kind of stupid, if I'm being honest, right? To the average person, it's just kind of stupid. Just be responsible. And that was always my thing. That's what I try to tell people. Be responsible. Is it smart? No, I'll be the first person. I'm not going to bullshit you and say this is safe or healthy. It's not. Can you do it a little bit responsibly? I think so. I seem to be doing okay. I think you gentlemen are doing okay. But we see the other side when people do abuse things, and that's why it has such a negative stigma. And I think I told you guys, in my senior year, I did a paper on why steroids are bad for you. The whole Balco operations. Remember when Barry Bonds was in trouble? Yeah. And I'm like, you got to be a fucking loser to take steroids, all this stuff. And then a year later, I don't know, something changed.
Something changed.
What about you, Andrew?
My parents always knew something was up, over high school, 14, I'm getting these bottles of Andro and Novel Dex, sent to the house, the little things I could get off the internet at the time. But they really found out when I called my dad after when I was in jail. And they're like, I'm like, Dad, I need you to come bail me out. He's like, what'd you do? And I'm like, I got arrested with 70 bottles of steroids and 4,000 pink Tide D-ball pills. He's like, what is that? He's like, wait, steroids? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, let me call the lawyer and don't talk to anybody and we'll get this figured out. And he's like, let me tell you something. He's like, I'm not paying a dime for your attorney. I'm not paying a dime for your court fees. You're going to learn a lesson on this one. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I just spend the night in jail. They made me spend the night in jail. I get out the next day, and then we go meet with my attorney. And this is 2001, right? Nobody understood anything about PEDs at that time in the state of Vermont. My attorney especially. And I remember we had to do a consult call with Rick Collins. Do you guys know who that is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I ran into him I ran into at Universe this year. And I'm like, do you ever remember a case from Vermont, kid who, got arrested with all these steroids dealing, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah. He's like, how'd that work out? And he goes, wait, you're still out. So it must have been okay. I must have done a good job. But that's how they figured it out. And I was like, look, Mom, because my dad was just kind of shrugging just kind of rolling his eyes kind of thing. But my mom was upset. She's like, that's illegal, And I just try to explain to him, like, well, there's life choices that we all make, and I don't believe these are as dangerous as you think they are. And honestly, I was like, I would put my health against yours because you guys drink a half bottle of wine together every night. I'm going to say that, like, maybe we all have unhealthy habits that maybe aren't the most advantageous for our health and safety, and maybe we should all just agree to live by them. And they accepted that. And
That's fair. It's a fair argument.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I felt it was. And I think when because I was able to make rational arguments about stuff, about why I do things or why they do things. And not everything anyone does is 100% healthy all the time. And I think they accepted that argument, and it worked.
They're like, I have no rebuttal to that. You're right, Andrew. You're
Did it
totally
change
right.
Did it change the dynamic at all, or even a little bit at first, or not really?
No, because we were all like, me and my there's me and then my next two brothers, and then there's another brother and a sister. Me and my first two brothers, we were all very independent people, like made our own money through high school, bought our own cars, So like, I think they kind of felt like they didn't have a leg to stand on to tell us what we had to do or could do at that point, because like we were very self-sufficient. Like if I needed to go get an apartment because they wanted to kick me out or something, like they knew I'd be fine. I could get my own apartment, or, whatever had to be done. They knew we could do it. So it didn't really change the dynamic. It was interesting though, because I made like, front page news in the newspaper. So like going into work the next week was kind of, that wasn't that much fun. The owner calls me into the gym, calls me into his office, and he's like, what are we gonna do about this? And I'm like, there's not much I can do. Like I got arrested and now I got to go to court, and, I got to see if I'm doing time or if I got to pay a fine or whatever has to happen, He's like, all right, well, just do none of it here, and we'll back you. We'll support you. If you need a witness, or what do you call it? Like a
alibi?
Not an alibi, but like when you a character witness.
Oh,
yeah,
reference
he's
to your
like,
character.
yeah, he's like, we'll be happy to do one for you. I'm like, thank you. So it didn't really affect me that bad. I was just known as like the guy that did a lot of steroids in town.
It's like Andrew is not robbing old ladies for a bottle of anethate.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, I'm going to be honest. I think it changed the perception of PEDs for a lot of people in my community, because in their mind, they'd just seen what happened on TV or in the news, like steroids are bad. Bad people do steroids. People are aggressive. And I was always a really nice guy to everybody, helped everyone out. And I feel like it kind of changed their perception of like, well, wait a minute. Like, he's a nice guy. He's using steroids. Maybe everything we've been taught is kind of wrong. At least that conversation crossed their mind, I think, because no one treated me any different. All right. Week Piggy 92. When I hire a coach, why do they get to decide on everything? If I say, let's go all out, why not do it? So I think they're referencing, if I want to do, the death cycle, why can't I do it? Why should you listen to your coach?
Is that a serious question, my friend? Because think about this, dude. Is it a girl or is it a guy? I can forget.
I don't know.
Anyway, it's a simple fact of this. No matter what happens to you, whether I directed you to do it or not, falls on me in the public eye.
Yeah.
And now people are going to think that you got hurt because of my recommendation. That's unacceptable. I'll have nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that.
I agree. I don't think much needs to be added, honestly.
No. Don't message me for coaching, whoever that is.
Well, yeah, I guess the alternative is like if someone's insisting on doing that, it's like, well, I'm just not the coach for you. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure there's some idiot that'll agree with you and say, yeah, take everything under the sun, go for it. But please don't lie to me and tell me you're taking what I'm asking you to take, and then you're doing double or triple or whatever. And you know what I mean? Because Chris is dead right. I think we value our reputations, in this sport greatly. And I know some coaches apparently don't. And I feel like the last thing any of us want, because we've talked about this, the last thing any of us want is for someone to get hurt under our watch, right?
Yeah.
I think
it doesn't even work. It's like if you sit there and times 3 times X all your gear, you think you're going to get 3 times the gains? You're going to get 3 times the side effects and maybe 1.25 the gains. Doesn't fucking work. What works is the fundamentals that create the size.
Gatekeeper.
Yeah.
A consistent
Chris
schedule.
Bullshit.
Yeah, a consistent schedule, good recovery, good training, proper sleep, good nutrition, like and anabolics, like focus on the fundamentals that makes it happen instead of just the drugs, because it just doesn't.
Good line.
On a lighter note, I mean, obviously we're trying to provide guidance with something, right? Will I take suggestions in terms of someone's like, hey, based on my experience, this is what I felt last time. I just want to let you know. Okay, cool. Like, thank you for giving me your experience. Like, I might still want to see for myself sometimes, but we're open to hearing. But in terms of like, hey, I had someone sign up the other day. They're like, I started this cycle. I said, you're going to start and end that cycle, just so you know, because I'm not working with that. And they're like, oh, like, what do you mean? And I just explained it to them. And it's like, okay, I'm not trying to be an asshole, right? Or, Hitler. This is just why I'm saying that what you're taking doesn't make much sense. Let's try this, and then we'll kind of go from there. And then they usually understand. So, some of them.
Have you ever guys let them kind of like do it a little bit? Be like, okay, yeah, we'll agree on that. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Only if trying to prove a point.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, hey, I want to use Anadrol. I say, okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Go ahead. Throw your Anadrol in. And when you can't eat, just I want you to not send me the message the first day and just remember. And then like, hey, I got to text you. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I can't
Or
eat.
Tren. They want to run Tren the off season. Like, bro.
Yeah. And I'm just like, listen, like, trust me, I've been there. Right? Because I can speak from experience, going back to what I said many podcasts ago. I did some dumb shit. So I kind of know, like, okay, this is probably, I'm not telling you not to do it because I'm gatekeeping. I'm telling you because I'm just avoiding a big headache for yourself.
100%. All right. Let's do a couple Q&As and then we'll sign this thing off.
Good.
Or, what did I say?
Physique critique.
A couple of physique critiques. It's a long night. It's getting late. Justin Thibault, coached by Gabriel Garipi. He's a Canadian. This guy is 5'11", 250, 24 years old. Super heavy in the CPA. He's currently 5.5 weeks out from the Toronto Pro Qualifier. Training day calories, 3,500. I'm not going to read the calories. No one cares about calories.
How tall is he? 5'11"?
He's 5'11", 250.
I like his physique. I like it.
I like his physique too.
Good physique. Just he's locked up on the right side. He's got to get that.
Do you want to know what he's taking?
Sure.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know. Of course, you guys want to know. Our listeners will be like, "Yeah, why don't you leave with this?" Currently doing daily 150 milligrams of Test E, 100 milligrams of EQ, 50 milligrams of Mass P, 50 milligrams of Winstrol Oral, 50 mics of T3, 80 mics Clen, 10 units of GH, 100 mics of T4, 15,000 steps daily, 2 times 16 hit on rest days for cardio. He had a meniscus tear at 14 weeks out.
Oh, it sucks.
No steps, leg training, or cardio until 9 weeks out. So he missed about 5 weeks of lower body activity and movement. He's in good condition for, what is he right now? He's 5.5 out, so he's on pace. For someone that missed 5 weeks of movement in a big way for their prep, that's pretty solid.
He just needs more back.
Yeah. I like a lot of what's going on with this physique, like the density of the muscle tissue, the thickness. I agree with you, Kyle. He is a little locked up on that right side.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're dead on. Those shoulders and arms are pretty big in that most muscular.
I like his front relax, his front double bicep, his front lat spread. I just think the rear lat spread and the rear double bicep are the weaker of the shots in comparison.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. Do you think it's good enough, though, to match the front? Like you never know. But based off of, he's doing a super heavyweight pro qualifier. Let's say he comes in peeled. Could he be a guy that wins a class?
As a super?
As a super. Let's say, because what has he got? He's probably got...
I can't see his glutes very well. Maybe 8 pounds. Could be.
Probably 8 to 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Probably 10 or 12, actually. Like bone dry. He's 250, so he'd end up probably around 240. Probably 240 on stage.
It all depends who shows up.
Yeah, I was waiting for someone to say that. Okay, but good physique. Anything you want to tell him to work on other than his back?
I would just say, yeah, I mean, his prep, not going to change much now, but yeah, back in the off season for sure.
Yep. That's what I thought. Okay.
Good structure though for super. I like the structure a lot.
Yeah, I agree. What was that?
I don't know.
My dogs.
Oh,
Chris got some. He's holding someone hostage.
yeah. Okay. This is Taylor McLaren. He is coached by my buddy Skip Hill. 6'2", 295 pounds, 33 years of age, classic physique, nationals in December. He's coming up on the end of his off season, and he's holding 292, 293 here, and he's got to make 239.
Ooh.
That's a hard prep,
Ooh.
sir. That is a hard prep, sir.
That sucks. But has to be done.
So he's, what, 290? 290s right now. So he's got to drop 50 pounds.
I worry about his quad sweep.
That took the words right out of my mouth, dude. Like right out of my mouth.
And the reason is it's kind of like if you're the off season and the legs are not a strength and you have to lose that much weight, that means those legs are going to flatten out. You know what I mean?
100%.
That would be my concern as a coach.
Maybe a little more back too, from the back. I like his front shots. I like the front double. I like his front relax. I like the ab shot. Look at how small his waist is.
Yeah, for 6'2", he doesn't look 6'2". You know what I mean? Like proportion wise.
Yeah, no. I mean, he's almost 300 pounds right here. Like that's pretty solid, you know. Yeah, good physique. You and Skip are going to have to stay on top of those legs, meaning definitely control the amount of steps, the amount of cardio, how hard you're pushing. Honestly, would this be? Let me ask you guys this. Would you guys start this prep like 30 weeks out and like diet and then kind of pull back for like 4 or 5 weeks and then diet again? Or would you do like a 20-week prep and just let it fly?
Hold on a second. Let me do the math.
Because I'm talking like 30 weeks out or 35 weeks out. I might start the diet. And I want to
What is he weigh now? And he's got to get down to.
He's 292 right now.
He's got to get to 232.
He's got to get 239. He's got to drop 50 pounds.
Oh, 239. 24 weeks for me.
Because okay, let's say he's 240. Let's say he's like 247 peeled. You know, the Monday before the show, right? That's doable, and dropping weight, etc. You know, making sure he makes weight that week. But you're saying 24 weeks, Chris?
I would do 24 weeks. I feel personally that 24 weeks would be adequate time for me to be able to negate some of the possible potential issues with flattening off the legs or omitting a diet break and whatnot.
Okay. So I'm saying I'd probably start him at 30 weeks out, go hard for like 6 to 7 weeks, give him a little bit of a diet break for 3 to 4 or 5 weeks, and then restart it and do the real prep. Chris is telling you, no, I'd start him at 24 weeks out and have ways to mitigate any muscle loss and overall fatigue for the lower body. Kyle, what do you think?
I'd say about 6 months. I wouldn't want I feel like if someone needs more than 6 months, then we're not starting in the position we should be in, and we should just make sure our body weight's a little bit lower before we really start prep, right? So yeah. I don't want someone in a deficit for half the year, essentially. So with a guy like this, I think his conditioning's okay. It's just a matter of I worry that we already see some lines in his legs. So as he diets down, like, well, what else is going to come off here, you know?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, be interesting to see. I can find out from Skip how that prep goes for these guys. And I think, I know I always see you, Chris. We'll probably both be at Nationals again like usual. So
you're going to stay in the house, bro.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. We're already planning our stays like 7 months out, 8 months out.
I already have you in my calendar, so I'd make sure I don't invite anybody else to stay.
You're the man, dude. You're the man. Seriously. If you need it for a client, though, let me know.
No, guy, I got plenty of room. They can sleep on the couch.
I'm not making your client. I'll sleep on the couch. I'm not making your guy who's competing in the
We have 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms.
Yeah.
One's like the guest bedroom. Erica's one room, and then we have some really comfortable like reclining love seats, and then we have a couch room. It's a couch room. We call it the napping room.
Yep.
But there's plenty of space, dude.
Awesome. All right, last one. Damien Ginnick. He's coached by Jay Yunt. Chris, do you know who that is?
Yeah.
He's one of your clients?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
what that name's familiar. Let's be quiet.
Yeah, because it says here, Chris's client.
Yeah.
5'8", 238, just turned 22 in February.
Wow.
Open NPC. I've actually done a critique on him before on Blood, Sweat, and Gear, and he's actually come up a good amount since then.
22, bro. That's good.
He's kind of like Andrew, right? I mean, he's kind of like your guy Andrew. October is his next show. He submitted a critique. He submitted a critique back in September and October, and you told me to focus on bringing up my back, which is something I implemented right away. Would be curious to know y'all's thoughts.
Well, the lat spread looks pretty good. A little posing, maybe change, maybe some play around some things, but back looks pretty good. I mean, the front lat relaxed, the lat spread. Dude, I'm pumped. 22 years old. That's fucking impressive.
Yeah, you look like that at 22, right, Chris?
No. I started bodybuilding when I was 23.
Very complete.
Yeah.
Drop that back right shoulder. That's my personal preference in the side chest.
Well, so really the biggest thing I see for him to look better today is to fix his posing just a little bit more.
Yeah.
But like he's pretty fucking complete already, you know?
Yeah,
for
everything
22?
he seems to be doing, like just keep growing the way you're growing. There's no like lagging body part where I'm like, hey, you don't know how to connect here. Everything is going very, very well.
Yeah. Jay, good job.
Let me ask you guys this, because this is kind of a pet peeve of mine. What do you think of the
hands?
When you're hitting the rear lat spread and you're seeing the hands out like this?
I don't personally like it.
No, I know what you mean. I've had one person have to do that because it's the only way they could spread their lats.
Why is that? Because I don't understand why that's the only way.
I think it's just one of those, like if you don't have really good proprioception, you don't know where you are in space. You don't know how to really like activate and move your shoulder blades around. I feel like they attach to specific cues that allow them to operate or move a certain way. I mean, have you ever had clients be like, Coach, I finally figured out this pose. What I do is I crunch my toes into the floor. And I'm like, okay, dude, if that works, sure. Knock yourself out. You know what I mean? Like they use a cue you've never even heard before to flare their legs.
I got
Hey,
you.
if that's working for you, run with it.
Okay.
That's what I think.
I just think it's kind of like we were talking about with the front double where the hands are like all over the place. I think it's like, get those fucking fingers out of the way. You know what I mean? Like, it takes away from the shot in my opinion. So, but I get what you're saying. If it's the only way they can hit, if it's the only cue and the only steps they can take to make sure they hit the lat properly, then I understand. Okay. All right, guys, that's the show today. Chris, Kyle, thanks for joining me as usual. If you're watching this and you like our programming, hit the subscribe button. If you're feeling juicy, hit the notification bell so you know when we release a new episode. And if you really want to help us out, leave a comment. Maybe starting with the first topic we did today. What are some some things that competitive bodybuilders can learn from other sports? Maybe leave some of the thoughts that you have that maybe we did not touch on.
And here's a good one. And what is something that you may have learned from other sports that you applied to bodybuilding now?
Bingo. What he said. With that, we are unwrapped.